soul to another, and then we recognize spirit. And then it's just like those two souls are now joined. And there is that knowing feeling that spirit is one.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one awareness acting out as two separate individuals. And that very recognition is called love. And so when we begin to see this, this is when the fear of death or the feeling of separation begins to die away.
Mm-hmm.
Evaporate. Yeah, and then what is left is here. Now.
Mm.
No beginning or end.
On one level. On another, we need endings so we can have beginnings.
Yes.
Mm.
And that's the cycle, isn't it?
Yes.
Just like we think in terms of time. What is time? And then we find it's just the movement of the sun, or the movement of the earth around the sun.
Mm.
You know, every 24 hours we call it a day. Call it night and day, because of course the sun might be facing Australia, but it's not facing here, so this is night, you see? But is night and day really truth? It's just motion, cycles. And then we give the year number and the month and the week and the day, but all it is just motion of energy.
Mm.
The forever cycling. But in truth, time is just change, it's just movement. But is change really happening, or is it again this circle around the I am to recognize itself?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Mm.
So nothing is really happening as we think it is, but gaining experience for self to recognize self. Yeah, it's an eternal motion. You know, somebody one time asked me, they said, Burt, you talk about being all the time. You know, awareness, spirit, I am. And I says, what is that? And I said, in truth, I don't know, because it's so grand. I said, my feeling is that being doesn't exist, because it is existence itself. And existence itself appears as existing things. You see, pure existence, which is being, appears as a tree, as a human being, as an animal, you know, from itself. And as it appears, there are living things. But in truth, existence itself doesn't exist. Being doesn't exist. And because it doesn't exist, it is the only thing that exists, appearing as everything else. And my words are very, very complicated at times. And so that this is all that there is.
Mm. Yes, words, but then it still comes back to simple, doesn't it?
That's exactly it. Because once you see the duality, the being and the human, or the spirit and the appearance of spirit, which is of course what we call the world, thought and awareness, once we see that object and subject are one. You cannot separate them. You see, subject and object are one. See, you know, people always objectify. You know, we're talking about God, for example, and immediately the mind objectifies it as something outside of us. It can't be helped.
Mm-hmm.
Or we talk about love. Oh, the physical man thinks sex. The emotional person thinks security, domesticity, family. You know, the mental person says communication, companionship, friendship, touching another person intellectually. So, but can we really define love? No, really. It is being. We go back. because it's subjective. But the mind is constantly objectifying. And then we say, but we're always objectifying. The moment we create a concept about love, about God, about life, about anything, we lose touch with its essence, because we've made it into an object when it's in its essential nature is subjective. The intellect can never understand that. And then we have to come to the conclusion that subject and object are one. And once we accept that, that's simplicity. There is nothing that you see that is not being. You see, that's the beautiful thing. I have a cat, and and there was a time when I didn't like cats. Mm-hmm. I love dogs, preferred. But this cat, I immediately connected with it, and I wanted to have it. And now it's so intelligent, and it talks to me with its eyes, and I just almost know what it's telling me, what it's doing. Right. And it loves me, it follows me around, always wants to be with me, and it's purring all the time. And then I say to myself, now there is another form of God, another form of pure being. Mm-hmm. You see? So we're going back to simplicity. Mm-hmm. One time I remember Buddha had a lot of disciples around him, and there was total silence, and the silence went on for a long, long time, and the people around who were listening, they're getting very little restless. And he bent over, saw a beautiful flower, he grabbed it, he held it in his hand, he looked at it, his eyes shone, beautiful. And one man in front of him, he had tears coming down his eyes, and he understood. And then Buddha said, "Blessed you are, because you understood." Mm-hmm. What cannot be given in words, you see? Because when you hold simplicity in your hand, a leaf or a flower or anything, you see the very being, the intelligence of being itself in that form. And it expresses as that form. But it itself is abstract. It's incomprehensible to the mind. So we go back to I am. I am is all that there is. Mm-hmm. Now I am is appearing as Annette, and as Burt, and as 6 billion other humans. And this is your understanding too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Life is wonderful.
Yes. What is life?
Existence?
Existence. Existence appearing as living things. Pure existence, yeah.
Being.
Being, yes.
I find it interesting that in my letters, open letters, I've started, when I use being, I will put a capital B.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Because
if I don't, then it becomes just a mere verb.
Yes.
You see, yeah. But if I put a capital B, which I often do when I'm referring to the one being, then of course it's, just like mind. We often think of the intellectual mind, the mind which is thought, but that which makes thought possible, which is awareness, because awareness is the great emptiness, the great void. But the moment it becomes aware of something, it becomes a thought itself. So a thought is awareness of something. You see, that's what a thought is. And that creates our world. That created the body, that created everything else. Because it brought memory from its own evolution, like the DNA that produces a fetus into a living, breathing child.